there's a couple of things going on here. One of which is Jevons paradox, which is, the more, the less expensive that technology becomes, the more the demand is. So the DeepSeek news for us was interesting in that none of the hyperscalers who knew about this before the announcement, Meta had already set up war rooms. So none of them pulled back on their CapEx budgets. And in fact, most of them doubled down or increased their CapEx budgets. So we expect to see about $310 billion of CapEx spend. It's funny how you can mix up billion and trillion these days. $310 billion in CapEx spend this year just from the hyperscalers alone. That doesn't include the recent announcement we got from Apple. So I think what we will see is that there will continue to be demand. CIO budgets, or chief technology budgets, are really not broadly reflecting AI spending. In fact, about 8 to 10% of CIO budgets are allocated to AI, but growing. 80% of chief technology officers will tell you that this is a super important aspect of their future growth. So add to that, lastly, that we track, for the companies with AI, by the way, the companies that we own, and what we're seeing is exploding use cases and monetization of AI across industry sectors. And so I think we will continue to see that play out.
So, Nancy, even if we do see some caution from Nvidia on the capital spend, does Nvidia remain the premium name in the sector, and does it remain a core holding?
I think so, Shri. I mean, what we know is that there's a huge backlog on the Blackwell chips. So about a year's worth, and the demand is increasing. Nobody wants to get out of line. So what I think you'll see tomorrow is the company will beat and they will raise. And the question is, they will raise guidance. And the question will be, is it enough? But earnings growth in this fiscal year expected to be around 50%, and the stock is trading around 45 times. So on a price earnings to growth ratio basis, it's pretty cheap. I mean, Tesla a few weeks ago was trading at a 4.5 peg. So I think this is a name you want to own and add to. If we get a sell-off, you want to add, and if we don't, I think we're off to the races again.
How are you thinking about, though, the White House's plans to restrict Nvidia chip exports to China even further, and in fact working with allies to do the same thing? How do you factor a price that into the equation?
As in Trump 1.0, Martin, I try not to think about the White House because it drives a lot of volatility in the short term. But I do think, I think it's a risk, clearly. But I think, what we saw from Apple was a very astute move, right? Tim Cook went and met with the president and then came out and said, we're going to spend $100 billion over 4 years, by the way, coincident with President Trump's term, and we're going to hire 20,000 workers. I think you'll see Nvidia navigate some of this. I don't think we're going to limit the short or the low-end chips. I just don't. I could be wrong. But I think what this White House does and this president is there's a lot of threats thrown out there, and then we land somewhere in between.